Yo, what's happening? We back. Welcome to my channel. My name is Taylor the Tech Guy, and we just made a linked list in C++. I did not show how I did this. I will do another video of making this, but I'ma just show you how it works. Alright? So we'll just run this, and boom, we'll succeed. Boom, we'll just run this. As you can see here, it runs just like our Java program. So I'm going to show you real quick where I did this. I wrote this all in 30 minutes because I had spent 20 minutes remembering C++ because I mix up C++ with C things because honestly, I think I am better at C, but like, trying to do C++ and object-oriented things is the norm for the day. Object orientation is the norm for the day. I think object orientation, I don't think it's as cool as functional programming, but it's whatever. So in C, we have this thing called .h files. So I made our linked list.h file the same way we designed our classes in Java. So I designed our classes in our .h file, our .hpp files. You see, I'm mixing up C and C++ things. So I defined the private instances to be top and size. I'll use size in another video to show you cool things you can do with it. And I made public instances, which are linked list, instant methods rather, linked list, add, and print. This is a boolean. This is a void because it returns nothing. So, so we've defined our linked list class. What we need to do next is to write the code to this linked list class. Boom. So here, this is where I wrote my code. So the first thing you need to do is include the linked list.hpp. I wrote all this in Xcode because Xcode is one of my favorite things to work on when it comes to C and C++ because Xcode is a beautiful IDE and I do mobile development, so I already have Xcode, so I might as well use it for other things too. And if you're an Apple user, I recommend if you want to do C, C++, whatever, use Xcode. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful IDE. So here we defined our constructor, which we define here. So in order to define it and write code for it, we first have to write the HPP class name, which is linked lists. Then this. Then I think it's a full colon, the method name, and then we write the code. So it sets the size to 0 because nothing has been added to the list, at the top to none. And then in our add method, we do the same thing, except we start with the type it's returning. As you can see here in our, let's just call this a schema for now, the schema of the object for linked list, right? So Boolean returns true or false, right? This method returns true or false. So first we start with what the method returns, then the class file, which is linked list, which we define here. The class is linked list. So we define that and write the add method. And this looks pretty identical to the Java code that we wrote last time, except for the size thing and the pointer thing. If you're familiar with C++, you will know that objects are stored in pointers or are referenced through pointers rather. And that's how we do this here. We do this with safe programming to make sure that when we write new node is created our new node so that we don't enter data that doesn't exist. For example, in older systems, memory used to get full when you write programs. So what you would find that when you start declaring variables and objects, space starts to fill up, and after a while, you can't add more variables and objects and instances to your program because the memory is full. That's why I write code like this. Would it happen today? That's very unlikely because our computer systems are made so big today that wouldn't really be a problem. So the next method I wrote is print. Print obviously prints out everything and traverses through every node, and we use the namespace std, std because that's what we can find cout from to print out things in C++. And I had to include iOS stream because that's also where I think the std namespace is. And that's not important for this video. I mean, it's important to use it, but it's not important to understand. Just know that the see out, the print out things is stored over there. The next thing is the node HPP, where we defined the node the H file, where we defined our node class. So the private instances are data and next node. As you know, this is a pointer because it points to the next object. That's why it's like this. And in our constructor, we here we put an integer and the next node, which is similar to our Java code from last week. Then this method is a next method to get the next node. So this returns the next node. I could have written this as get next. Whatever you want to name this, I recommend get next because next node is not standard. Get next is more standard code. Then this int get data returns the data stored in that node. The next returns the next node connected to that previous node because it works similar to our code from before. So the same thing with the linked list file where we define the code the same way, where we're like, yo, the class name, semicolon, full colon, because that's just the way it is. Let's just pretend node is a namespace in our program. Then int, data type, class name. Then we have our method name and the method code over there. And what we did in main is that we only called our linked list HPP because our linked list HPP calls our node HPP, so we don't need to call it in main because it's already called in the linked list HPP. All the HPPs are connected because that's just the way C++ works. You don't code everything on one. You don't code everything on one page or one file. Everything's either coded separately to make it look cleaner. You can put all this together in one file and it will look very hideous. I do not recommend that. C++ gets confusing when the code gets too much. And that's how our code works, basically. And when we run it, drum roll please, boom. It works just like our Java code, exactly the same. Which this is just to show you that you can accomplish the same things that you could do with Java, with C++, Python, and other things. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, please subscribe, and please come back next time for another video. This is how you make a linked list in C++. Next time I will code from scratch. Thank you for watching. I love you. Tell the tech guy we out.